Alright guys, how's it going? I hope you're doing very well. Just a little bit of a tutorial, a little bit of guidance how to set up a project and how to do something like a VDB sequence, especially when you're rendering it on the render network. Now, the best way to start a project is to set a folder. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly create a folder and we'll call this my project 2. Now, one of the pieces of advice we give is when you're saving your Blender file and save it as the same name as the folder. So just for example, I'm just going to save this blank scene. I'll go to save as, I'll go to my project 2 and I'll call this my project2.blend. Now the reason we do this is in case you've got different scene files, it just keeps convention, it keeps things nice and tidy, to be honest. And you should start to work from a project folder. Whenever you start a Blender scene, this is probably the first step you should do. It just keeps things nice and tidy. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to import a VDB sequence. Now, because you work maybe in a studio or because you have files in Dropbox and stuff like this, it's always best to download the source files, even if it's a basic image, and put it into the project file. So generally when I start a project, I'll create a bunch of folders called images, VDB, stuff like this. Just keeps everything nice and tidy. And one of the things when you're using Blender, you get quite lazy because everything gets put into a blend sometimes. So what I'm going to do here is I've downloaded this VDB sequence. I'm actually going to put it into here and keep it in the same folder. It just means the paths are nice and organised. So in traditional fashion, we'll delete the default cube. I'll go to add, I'll add in a volume and I'll import the VDB. You can see here I'm already inside of the native folder. I'm just going to quickly select one frame and I can come to the object data properties and I can change this in. And I believe there's 100 frames here. So if I open up 100 frames, that's it. It's perfect. So as I mentioned earlier, most things get packed inside of the dot blend, but VDB sequences, I believe Alembics do not, and certain cache files obviously don't get included in the Blender file. You need to reference these, which is always why I recommend when you start your project, start it out by building a folder, save the Blender file in, and then start importing everything you use. You really need to get out of the habit of being lazy and just using the downloads folder or my documents or stuff like this. You need to start structuring stuff. And trust me, when you come back to a project 4 or 5 years later, it just makes life easy. So that's pretty much you're set up. What I can do here is I can save this. Now I'll go to external data and I'll pack the resources because I want to show you the file size just to prove my point here. So what I've done here is I've saved it, I'll jump into my project, and you can see that the blend file is only 13 megabytes, and I have over 1 gigabyte of actual VDB sequences. And the reason they do this is it stops the actual file becoming bloated, and that's pretty much all you need to do for the render network. If you right click it, compress it as a zip file, and then upload it to the render network, as long as your VDB sequence path are correct, everything should be rendering fine. Now, of course, always check your render. Do a couple of test renders, maybe every 10th frame or whatever, but that's you. Anyway, thanks for watching.